When Hugh Jackman stepped onto the red carpet at the Song Sung Blue premiere, no one was expecting what came next. Cameras flashed, reporters gasped, and there she was, Broadway powerhouse Sutton Foster, holding his hand like they've been doing it for years. For a moment, the entire Hollywood scene froze. After months of quiet rumors and subtle hints, the truth was finally out. Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster were officially a couple. It wasn't just the debut of a red carpet romance. It was the start of a completely new chapter for two stars who've both been through the emotional ringer. Jackman, known for his charm and decades-long marriage that fans thought would last forever, seemed lighter, freer, like a man who'd finally let go of the past. And beside him stood Foster, glowing with the confidence of someone rediscovering herself after her own heartbreak. Their chemistry wasn't new. Fans who watched them on Broadway's The Music Man back in 2022 still remember how natural their connection felt. But few guessed that behind the bright lights and applause, a real bond was quietly forming, one that would soon turn into Hollywood's most unexpected love story. Because this wasn't just another celebrity rebound or PR stunt. It was two people who'd spent years in the same orbit, finally finding each other at the right time. And as they smiled for the cameras that night, it wasn't the flashbulbs or fame that stood out. It was the look between them, the kind that says, "We've been through the storms. Now it's our turn to shine." Long before the flashing cameras and red carpet headlines, Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster's connection started under the soft glow of Broadway stage lights. It was 2019 when producers announced that the two would lead the long-awaited revival of The Music Man. Fans were ecstatic. Hugh Jackman, the global movie star with musical theater roots, and Foster, one of Broadway's most beloved triple threats. Sharing the same stage, it felt like a dream pairing. But what audiences didn't see was the instant rapport that formed between them. Behind the scenes, their rehearsals were filled with laughter, inside jokes, and a rhythm that felt effortless. Castmates often described their chemistry as undeniable, the kind that couldn't be faked even if you tried. When The Music Man finally opened in 2022, critics raved about their dynamic, saying they brought a spark of genuine warmth to every scene. At the time, both were in committed relationships. Jackman, married to his longtime partner, Deborah Lee Furness, and Sutton with screenwriter Ted Griffin. So any whispers of a connection stayed buried under professionalism and mutual respect. Still, fans noticed the subtle moments, a shared smile during curtain call, an extra-long hug after a performance. Nothing inappropriate, but enough to make people wonder if their friendship ran deeper than most. When the curtain finally fell on their Broadway run, both stars went back to their lives. But the bond didn't fade. They stayed in touch, quietly supporting each other's projects, celebrating milestones, and checking in during tough times. That quiet friendship would become the foundation for something far more personal later on. Because what started as two performers sharing a stage eventually turned into two people finding understanding in each other, a connection that neither of them saw coming. By the time 2023 rolled around, both Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster found themselves at turning points they never expected. After 27 years of marriage, Hugh and his wife, Deborah Lee Furness, shocked fans by announcing their separation. For a man who'd built his public image around being the devoted husband and family man, the news hit hard. He stepped back from the spotlight for a while. No flashy interviews, no tabloid defenses, just quiet reflection. At the same time, Sutton was facing her own storm. Her 10-year marriage to screenwriter Ted Griffin was quietly unraveling, with court filings showing a finalized divorce by late 2024. She shared a young daughter, and while Sutton kept things private, those close to her said she was focusing on healing and starting over. It was almost poetic. Two people known for their discipline, professionalism, and kindness, each going through heartbreak at nearly the same moment. But instead of collapsing under the weight of their pasts, they leaned into what they knew best: work. In early 2024, fans started noticing subtle patterns. Hugh showing up at Sutton's shows, Sutton spotted in the audience at his events. At first, it looked like simple professional support, two Broadway friends cheering each other on. But those who'd worked with them could tell something deeper was building. There was a comfort between them, an unspoken familiarity that only comes from shared experiences and emotional understanding. By the time they reunited publicly, that friendship had already transformed into something stronger, a connection forged not through the glitter of fame, but through resilience. It was a chilly January January evening in Los Angeles when the whispers finally turned into something undeniable. Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster were spotted walking hand in hand after dinner, not rushing, not hiding, just enjoying each other's company. For fans and paparazzi alike, it was the confirmation everyone had been waiting for. After months of speculation and subtle public appearances, the chemistry that once lived only on stage had found its way into real life. Just 2 days earlier, Hugh had quietly attended Sutton's performance in Once Upon a Mattress, sitting in the audience like any proud supporter. It wasn't an industry event or a promotional move, just one artist showing up for another. But the timing raised eyebrows. Soon after that dinner date on January 6th, photos began circulating online, and the internet lit up with surprise. What made the moment so captivating wasn't the fact that they were together. It was how natural it seemed. There was no grand reveal, no red carpet spectacle, just two people who looked genuinely happy. Hugh, dressed casually in a dark jacket, couldn't stop smiling. Sutton, in her signature understated elegance, walked beside him like it was the most normal thing in the world. Fans immediately began piecing together clues from the past year, the shared events, the warm social media exchanges, and the subtle admiration they'd shown for each other long before anyone suspected a romance. Suddenly, it all made sense. For two people who had spent years in the public eye, the decision to go public in such a simple, authentic way said everything. It wasn't about headlines, it was about comfort. They weren't trying to make a statement, they were just done hiding something that had grown too real to disguise. While the world was busy speculating about their budding romance, Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster were doing something far more meaningful: rebuilding. Both had come out of long-term relationships that left emotional scars, and neither was rushing into anything. According to those close to the couple, the early days of their relationship were private, intentional, and rooted in friendship rather than excitement or spectacle. Insiders describe this period as a reset for both of them. Hugh, who had spent nearly 27 years as part of a high-profile marriage, was learning how to live on his own again, quietly rediscovering his independence and what happiness looked like outside the familiar. And Sutton was balancing single motherhood, her Broadway career, and the emotional work of moving forward. In each other, they found something steady, a calm after the chaos. Their connection deepened through quiet gestures, long walks between rehearsals, handwritten notes during show runs, and phone calls that lasted until sunrise. Friends say they bonded over their shared understanding of pressure, not just the weight of fame, but the emotional toll of being the strong one in every room. They'd both carried other people's expectations for so long that being with someone who truly got it felt almost healing, and that's where the trust began to rebuild. There were no rushed declarations or grand gestures, just honesty, laughter, and a shared belief that something worth having should be built slowly. Sources close to them say they made a pact early on. No drama, no rush, no media games, just two people choosing peace over performance. And when the moment Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster stepped onto that red carpet together, the internet went into overdrive. Social media feeds filled with side-by-side photos of the pair, captions like, "They look so happy," and "This feels real," flooded Twitter and Instagram within hours. Fans who'd followed Hugh through his decades-long marriage and Sutton through a Broadway reign couldn't help but root for them. It wasn't a scandal, it wasn't messy, it was two grown-ups finding love again after life had thrown them curveballs. Entertainment outlets quickly picked up the story. People's Exclusive report quoted an insider saying the couple was in love and genuinely excited to share their future together. Others described them as giddy and light, words rarely used for celebrities in their 50s navigating new relationships. It was clear this wasn't about starting over, it was about finally being in sync. The Hollywood crowd took notice too. Fellow Broadway stars sent subtle congratulations online, while Jackman's co-stars and friends reportedly told him they hadn't seen him this happy in years. Even fans who were initially skeptical about their chemistry back in the Music Man days now admit they saw it all along. As for what's next, that's where things get interesting. Insiders say the two are focusing on blending their worlds: his film commitments, her Broadway schedule, and the shared goal of keeping things grounded. There's even quiet talk of future collaborations, maybe a joint stage project or a musical charity event that brings both of their talents together. But for now, their focus seems simple: enjoying the calm, the laughter, and the rare kind of connection that doesn't need to be broadcast to feel real. After everything they've been through, they're not chasing attention, they're protecting something genuine.